an armed robbery and went to jail. Then he got out. Now he's just searching the world for Nicole Brown lookalikes and playing golf.
Yeah, yes, and yes.
I got bigger fish to fry.
You do have bigger fish to fry. Is it when there's something like that, just for an example, like when, there's this verdict and it's like not guilty, like, does that get easier for you? Or is that, you know what I mean? Like, do you take it to bed at night of like you said, okay, this person did this and, you can only do so much as Nancy Grace, or do you just say, this is the job, I've got bigger fish to fry and I'm like jaded or not jaded, but you're used to it. You've seen it all.
When I said I've got bigger fish to fry, I mean, he's already fried. I have other people yet to be fried. I try to let it go at the end of the day. And that's a recent development because I had my twins, John David and Lucy, and I want them to have a very happy home. I don't want mommy to be strung out. But I will say, for instance, last night before I went to bed, I studied the case of a so-called honor killing where 2 teen girls were shot dead in Texas by their dad, who did not want them to become, quote, Americanized, his word, not mine. And he shot them dead in the back of a cab multiple times. And I guess I was so upset, I screamed in my sleep. My son came running in the room and said, Mom, what? And I'm like, it's just a bad dream. That, I think, is left over from what happened to Keith. And I don't think trauma ever really goes away. And the parade of cases. So short answer, no, I don't put it to bed, even though I try to. I try not to bring it home. But you know what? You can't walk knee deep through the mud all day and not track a little bit home at night. Some is going to get on your living room floor. That's just that. Oh, but I wanted to tell you something about the case I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Remember the hospital worker that was so cute?
Yeah.
Back in 1999, Jennifer Watkins. Well, listen to this. At first, her boyfriend, I wouldn't call him necessarily a boyfriend, but someone she had been dating, a guy named Michael, was a suspect. He volunteered to take a poly and he passed. So the case went unsolved for, I think 30 years until another person working at the hospital, Ricky Sievert, matched up on that DNA 20, 30 years later because of genetic genealogy. And, on TV, on crime stories and detective stories and novels, we focus on circumstantial evidence because it's, exciting. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, which I love. But you cannot beat forensic technology. And now with the new breakthroughs, I only wish I had this when I was prosecuting, but this is new and welcome in crime fighting.
Yeah, I mean, as I watched this great show, Bloodline Detectives, that is what went through my mind. I mean, that was my question. Like, okay, you look at an OJ, like if we had this then, do you think—
Why are you calling him by his first name? Like, are you going to go home and have dinner with him?
No, I am not.
Please don't. If you value your head, I would advise not to get close to O.J. Simpson.
I would rather have dinner
Nicole
with you.
Brown was nearly decapitated. Her head was still in her body by a thin piece of skin on the back of her neck. Let's just not forget that. Okay.
No. Well, that's my point. Like it's so advanced today. You look at like that case or any other cases, like if we kind of had all these forensics then, you can only wonder, right?
Yeah, you're right. Although Johnny Cochran, although I don't agree with anything he ever said, he had a way about him. I was so prepared to hate his guts. But there's something about Johnny, again, God rest his soul, that I actually learned from. He walked into a room and everybody wanted to know him and be connected to him. And I would sit back and watch. Number one, I was the sidekick, all right, and I accepted that. But I would stand back and watch when he would walk in. He had a charisma. not, you know, those people that are loud and very loquacious. It wasn't like that. He just had a natural, uh, enigmatic quality about him that people wanted to be friends with him. And that worked for the jury too. They wanted to believe whatever Cochran said because they liked him. And of course, Simpson didn't take the stand wisely because then his real personality would have come out. But the jury focused on Cochran and they liked him. And whatever they said, he said, they wanted to believe. And I learned that about the likability factor in a courtroom.
Wow. That is interesting. Do you think, I mean, look, you wrote a book on it about a high priced defense attorney and celeb defendants hijacking the court system. Like, do you see that? Like, when it is a celebrity or someone with tons of money or influence, is there really, like, does the pendulum really swing?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, look at Depp. There were people dressed up like pirates outside the courtroom. And I'll tell you what I think sunk Amber Heard is her lying. And she lied about pretty mundane things that she didn't have to lie about, like giving money to those two charities when she really didn't fulfill her pledge. And instead of saying, you know what, I ran out of money. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. She tried to parse her words by saying that was a pledge. Okay. Not, I never promised to actually donate. It was a promise to promise. It was like, what? I mean, little facts like that made her lose credibility where Depp just came out and went, yeah, I'm a drunk doper. There, I said it, but I didn't hit her. And the least thing can turn a jury. And if they get a whiff of your lie, you're up the creek without a paddle.
No matter how small and that, like, or innocent.
Well, I think lying about charitable donations pretty much took the cake.
Were you shocked at that verdict, Amber Heard and Johnny?
No, I was not shocked because between that lie and a lie about tipping off TMZ, I think the jury didn't like her. Back to the likability factor. And again, jury trials are not supposed to be a popularity contest. Nobody's going to go home being crowned Miss Congeniality in a case like that. But given Johnny Depp's popularity and his willingness to embrace and admit his foibles and his faults, all the things he did wrong, I think, I think a jury will always side with the sinner and not the hypocrite.
That's an interesting statement, but I would agree with that. What do you say? Like, you mentioned Twitter earlier, and someone was accusing you of these things. Like, what do you say to the naysayers who, say, okay, like, our justice system, I'm sure you've heard this before, like, you're innocent until proven guilty.